Now to Canada and politics. The NDP leader Jagmeet Singh's accusation that a Bloc Québécois MP is racist has boiled over into a second day of tense exchanges in Ottawa.
He was asked to leave the House, and I ask once again to not recognize him today.
Today, the Bloc Québécois whip asked the Speaker of the House not to allow Singh to speak during question period. Yesterday, the NDP leader was kicked out of the House of Commons for refusing to apologize for calling the Bloc Québécois House leader a racist. Singh claimed the Bloc MP dismissed an NDP motion calling out systemic racism in the RCMP and used a hand gesture to symbolically bat Singh away. This is what Prime Minister Trudeau said today about Singh's comments.
It is not for me to criticize any Canadian, particularly not the only racialized leader in the House of Commons, for making other people uncomfortable by calling them out for not recognizing systemic discrimination.
Mr. Singh is a good person. I always thought that, and I still think that he somehow dropped the ball. And I hope he will take it back.
Yves-François Blanchet, the Bloc leader, wants Singh to apologize for painting his party as racist, and he says he wishes the Speaker of the House of Commons would respond with a more severe penalty for the NDP leader than a 24-hour suspension. Two communities in rural Alberta have decided working together is the best approach to address systemic racism. The Siksika First Nation is just east of Calgary, and most of its members attend school and activities in the neighboring town of Strathmore, which is predominantly white. When tragedy struck both the communities last year, local leaders decided things had to change. Heather Yourex-West explains what happened.
In life, Christian Youngman was a bridge builder, an accomplished traditional dancer. KJ, as he was known by friends and family, was passionate about his culture.
I taught my children to be proud of who they are and where they come from.
But it was his other passion, on the ice, that made KJ so well known beyond the Siksika First Nation as well. So when one night in March of 2019, a young man was shot and killed, both communities gathered to mourn.
It was my boy, and our whole world changed since then.
After two brothers from Strathmore were charged in the young man's death, community leaders began looking at how members of Siksika had been experiencing racism in the neighboring community.
Things get yelled out now and then. There were comments about First Nations people being followed more in some of the stores as opposed to non-First Nations.
The councils of Siksika and Strathmore began meeting regularly to come up with plans to address systemic anti-Indigenous racism in the town.
A lot of that goes back to just not knowing. A lot of people don't fully understand what took place, in the residential schools. A lot of people don't fully understand the term 60 scoop.
The initiative has also included the local detachment of the RCMP.
They were looking at things like what to do with a person if they were in the detachment, if they were being held overnight, for example, and what to do with the person to ensure that person got home safely back to Siksika Nation.
We're working on, trying to develop some ride-alongs with the RCMP, develop some community watch programs.
The work is still in its early days, but if successful, it's work both leaders feel could be replicated in other communities. And it's work, Melody Youngman says, honors her son.
We need something in place where we learn about each other. And this should have began long time ago.
Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Strathmore, Alberta.